John Michelle.
Yeah. You want the brokerage?
How many people on this?
All right, well, good morning. Welcome to Wednesday.
Good morning, Mr. Gilmour.
We have, as of December 2nd, we have some new rules that will affect anybody that is using PropTX. So the MLS service provided by TREB, but many other boards have recently switched from the ITSO matrix to PropTX. And the map here actually will show you sort of what has transpired, and hopefully we're on our way to a provincial wide one MLS system, hopefully. Okay. But as of right now with PropTX, all of this area, so everything that you see in blue, you can get by just logging in to one PropTX. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you are with the Ottawa board, you can log into PropTX and you will see everything from PropTX. Okay, all the listings. Niagara, so the area of Niagara Peninsula, so Welland, St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, Niagara on the Lake, all of this area, they are just switched over. Okay, London, St. Thomas, all of this area. One Point Association of Realtors, which just amalgamated, they are now part of this. Okay, so what it means is that hopefully now Barrie is showing here. Barrie is part of the Toronto Real Estate Board. Okay, they do have their own association, but Barrie is showing here because you, as a member of TREB, actually have an option of joining, signing up for the Barrie board if you want to still have access to ITSO. Okay, so the ITSO other boards. You can also do that, and I believe it's about $750 for the year. Okay, so if you're currently with a member of one of our offices, or that you are a member of ITSO side and you still want to maintain that, so you would have access to see Cornerstone Association of Realtors, stuff down around Sarnia, Windsor, stuff up along North Bay, Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie, Thunder Bay. Those are still currently on the ITSO MLS. Okay, now lots of the brokerages there will have joined or are joining TREB and be part of that. So you may find that it's posted on both. It's just going to be a little bit of a trial and error. But right now for Ontario, majority of the board now are in the process of switching over to PropTX. Okay, so that's why some of the rules, okay, and how we do the MLS. So if you are, for instance, our office in Ottawa, their rules that their MLS rules and how they operate their MLS system is different than how the Toronto Real Estate Board. The Niagara Falls Association of Realtors, they have their own MLS set of rules. So when you start taking all of the different boards and you start sharing the MLS information, and this is what they did with ITSO when ITSO went from approximately 10 boards to where they had 28 boards. All of those boards had to agree on the same MLS rules. So now that PropTX is now taking the majority of Ontario, those boards MLS rules and PropTX MLS rules have to be the same. So as of December 2nd, there are changes. So depending on which board that you are part of currently, okay, the changes will affect you differently. But as of December 2nd, everybody that is on PropTX has to follow the same rules. And I'm going to go through those because if you don't follow those rules, there are fines. Okay. And now obviously in the beginning, there will be what they call, and a lot of the other boards have already done this. If you are part of an ITSO board, Niagara Falls, Oakville, they do random audits. okay, on your MLS listings, and you have 24 hours to submit the documentation, and it has to follow all the rules or you get fined. Okay, yep,
Is the Oakville board is part of it now?
Oakville board.
They never wanted even anything to do with trend, right?
So the question is Oakville part of it? Yes, Oakville is part of their switching over to PropTech. Okay,
Trend, but it's the same.
well,
Yeah,
they're not joining TREB. Nobody's joining TREB board. They're actually joining PropTech, which is operated by TREB. Okay, so it's not like the boards are joining TREB. The boards are contracting their MLS services through PropTech. Okay,
Forms will be the same.
everything that's December 2nd. If you are, doesn't matter where you are, if you're in Niagara Falls and you're loading in your listing on PropTech, it's going to be the same form that you're using in Ottawa, same form you're going to be using anywhere in the blue. Yep.
Scott,
Yep.
so I'm a member of OMDREB and TREB. Can I quit or leave OMDREB and still have access to all the listings that were on OMDREB through PropTech via TREB?
The answer to that is yes.
Okay,
So as of December 2nd, okay, if you are a member of OMDREB and TREB, you can drop OMDREB or TREB, one or the other. So if you're a member of Oakville and you want to still remain a member of the Oakville board, you can drop your TREB membership and your PropTech information will be exactly the same as it is in Toronto and vice versa. Okay, so you can drop one membership, absolutely.
excellent.
Okay, so for instance, our office in Niagara Falls, we have people there that are going, well, you know, they were always putting their listings. They would list the Niagara Falls board, and then they were always putting their listings on TREB because a lot of the people were coming from Toronto, right? So you had to do the listing on two boards. Now with that area joining PropTech, they only have to load the listing once. And everybody in blue can search. Yes.
I'm part of their board. It's gray, I still have to do two. I uploaded on it, so.
Yeah, so if you want to load it on ITSO, right? So if you're part of the Berry board, you still have access to the ITSO MLS system, which means that you can see whatever somebody on the ITSO board, ITSO system has listed. So down here, if they're only putting on ITSO, you would be able to see it on ITSO. Where if you're on PropTech, you will not see anything on ITSO.
Until they join eventually, hopefully.
Not saying they will, not saying they won't, but they're like, over the last few years, there's been this tug of war, let's call it, that's my own words, is that you have Toronto Real Estate Board with majority of the salespeople. You have the outside smaller boards that all started to amalgamate so that they would have a larger say in numbers. And they felt the best system at the time was the Matrix ITSO system. And there was up to, I believe, 28 boards that were all part of it. Well, then TREB came out with, PropTech came out with a more advanced system, and other boards started looking at it and go, hey, you know what? Our contract's up with Matrix. We really like what PropTech can offer, because they offer both platforms. They offer a Matrix platform and they offer the Realty platform, right? So you have a choice of which platform to use. The information in both will be the same as if you're a member of using the PropTech system. Okay, so for yourself, if you still want to have full access to ITSO, then your membership in Barrie will give you that.
So I'd have to upload.
If you wanted to expose it on the ITSO system, or there are ways that if you took a listing in Barrie, because Barrie is in an ITSO MLS system, you could interboard it for free. Okay, if you were down here in the Cornerstone area and you'd have a listing and you're a PropTX member, you could interboard that. If your listing is in this area, you can interboard it for free. Okay, you can also get what's called a super subscriber if you still want to have have access to ITSO. But that basically is a subscription that you're paying to get access to see active, sold, but it doesn't allow you any access to drip campaigns, doesn't give you any access to client auto emails, things like that. Okay,
Where,
but yep.
where's Hamilton? Which, I can't see in your map where Hamilton is.
Hamilton is actually part of the Cornerstone Association of Realtors. They're right in here.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
Hamilton. Now, I will say that if you actually, I've been doing some testing, there are lots of agents that are double loading, which basically means if their listing's in Hamilton, they're putting it on ITSO and they're putting it on PropTX because their brokerages are members of Trev as well. So I still believe you're going to see that in the Hamilton area, Oakville area. What's ironic about Mississauga is actually part of the Cornerstone Association of Realtors. And they did a test. 3/4 of the list, actually PropTX MLS listings are 3 times more than what's listed on the ITSO system in Mississauga. So in Mississauga, majority of the listings, pretty well all of them are on PropTX. Not all of them are on ITSO MLS. Okay. So the reason I wanted to show you this is to explain to you why the rules have to change and why they're changing. Okay. So the easiest thing to understand is that we are a member of a organized real estate, which means we have the Canadian Real Estate Association, Ontario Real Estate Association, and then you have your board rules. You also have RICO that's over here, right? All of that information has to be, when you're using one MLS system like this, it all has to be the same. Okay, so that's why this is changing. So on December 2nd, all of this area, that's in blue, same forms, same timelines, same rules, okay? Same fines if you screw up. That's why I wanted to have this meeting and put out the information that we did. Because yeah, I'm sure there'll be, notifications that go out, and we do get them. Hey, Angie, sometimes we'll get them where Trev will send us something and said, you have 48 hours to fix this, right? I'm sure that'll still continue, but one of the biggest differences is that even though when Trev had the authority to do audits, they really, I can tell you all the years, I don't think I've had an MLS listing audit from Trev. Lots from Niagara board, lots from Oakville board, okay? And they look like they scrutinize everything.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's why we're gonna go through a bunch of that. Okay, so let's get started. We did send out the rules of fact. So if you want to open it up wherever you are on your desktop or computer, you can. It's also in the chat, Michelle tells me. We are also going to show it, and I'm going to go through it. Are you going to be able to show it online? Perfect. Okay, so if you just want to follow along, do go through it all. I'm not going through every definition. Okay, so where I'm going to start, if you are using it, I'm going to start on Article 2. So if you want to scroll down to Article 2, I don't know, page 9. Come on. 80, where's mine?
Yeah, right side.
Oh, you're doing it.
Sorry.
All these years, you don't know your dad? I read one page
He
at a
only sees
time.
one way, Michelle, you know this.
I know you all like this double screen. Nope, I want one thing in front of me. All right, now I got it. I'll figure it out. All right, first one we're gonna look at. 2.05. When requested in writing by the association, the listing broker shall forward to the association a copy of any documentation pertaining to an MLS listing agreement by 11:59 PM the next business day. So you get a notice from any of the boards that's associated with PropTech. And it comes to me as the broker of record, and it goes to you, the agent. You have to have all the paperwork associated with that particular listing sent to the board by 11:59 next business day. So if you get a notification 3 o'clock today, it needs to be to them by 11:59 tomorrow. And that includes everything, everything you did with that listing. Signed copy of the RICO guide, right? Your MLS listing agreement. All the initials have to be in the right spot. The signatures have to be in the right spot. Okay? Then your data form has to be complete and signed by all the owners. Okay, when I mean complete, every mandatory field, every field that they pull up on the MLS, because they'll go online, they'll look at your MLS listing, they'll look at your paperwork. If there is something that doesn't match, you're in violation. Okay? So what's that mean? No more of this signing in front of the people, taking it away and says, you know what, I'm just gonna fill it out later and I'll send you a copy. You've got to make sure every detail matches what's on live on the MLS. Okay. Any delay in offer presentation. So all those forms, okay, they have to be sent and they better be signed and initialed properly. Okay. The reason they're doing all of this is because consumers have been complaining that they're not getting all the proper information on the MLS systems. And I can tell you they're not, because I know of situations where what an agent's advertising or what they're saying and telling a other agent is not posted up on the MLS. Violation. Okay, we're going to go through that. So make sure all your paperwork is complete, initialed, signed off. Okay, including where you as the agent have to initial and sign. Okay, and you only have very limited time. So if you think that, oh no, if I get audited, I'm going to run back, I'm going to go see my people and get them to sign off on it. Yeah, do remember that most of the time I see people are doing this with, you know, online with DocuSign or DigiSign. It shows when it was done, right? So just make sure all your paperwork is correct, it's up to date, and it's filled in properly. Any questions? If you're not sure on the paperwork, come see me, reach out to me, we'll go through it. They will, every board is going to start doing this more so. Lots have already done it in the past, okay? All right, 206. All members shall comply in full with any audit conducted by the association. Brokerages shall redact any remuneration information or documentation is requested pursuant to the audit. When you are sending in your paperwork, you must block out anything to do with total commission. Okay? Because under the Competition Act, commission is up to the individual realtor on what they want to set. So the board does not want to see any of your commission amounts. Okay, so before you send it in, you have to block out where your commission amount is.
If you're audited.
If you're audited,
Oh.
correct. Okay, So that's something new. They weren't doing that before. But now, under competition, they want to make sure that nothing is discussed or revealed about commissions. Okay, you still have to get your paperwork in, but that's one part that you have to do, okay? 2.07, the information relating to an MLS listing which has yet to be processed or published by the association shall be given by the listing brokerage to any registrant upon request. If it is part of the arrangement between the listing brokerage and the seller, and in the event where an offer is registered before notice of the MLS listing or any amendments thereto have been circulated through the MLS service to the members, the cooperating brokerage with the offer shall be supplied the information with or without a request from the cooperating brokerage. A lot of words. That's why I want to do this meeting. Okay, so here's what happens. You get a listing, you put a sign up. Agent calls you, hey, just saw your sign. You have to send them the full listing information right away. Not just say, yeah, listed at this price, here's the deed. Not good enough. You've got to send them the documentation that you have signed. Okay, because you have not posted it yet. Okay, lots of times you can say, hey, yeah, it's going to be on the MLS later today. If that agent says, I want to see the information now, you have to send it to them. And the same thing, you request it, they have to send it to you.
What
Okay,
information,
Where
the
the-
draft MLS, like when I'm doing a broker load and then I print out that draft signature page, is that all I have to send?
yes. Yeah, and that is the best way. If everybody isn't doing that, right? You with the MLS systems, you can go in and instead of doing your MLS listing on the web forms or whatever, and then later putting it into PropTX, you can actually go into PropTX, do a draft, fill everything in, everything that fill it all in there. And there is, if you print it out, there is a section where a print setup where you can print it, and there's signatures for the sellers to sign. That is proper for any audits you get, as long as they've signed off on that draft as part of they classify that as being Schedule A to the list, Schedule B to the listing agreement. Okay, yeah, Eric, you'd be fine. You just send them that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, where this also comes into play, and that's why it's really important when you read this, cooperating brokerage with the offer. Okay, you get a call or somebody registers an offer. You have just left that house, or online, you just got it back, price change. I know of situations where agents have gone, let's not tell them about the price change until we see what the offer is. Now, you will be in violation, because if they do go ahead and find out they presented an offer, you knew that they had an offer, you kept that price change silent and did not inform them, you're gonna be in huge trouble. No, it has to be in writing.
Verbal doesn't matter because how are you gonna prove it?
So if there was a signed document saying price change,
Yeah, so if you've got a price change and you have not posted it on the MLS system, someone's just registered an offer, and they think they're consumers and they believe this is where the price is, yet the actual price is now down here and you have not informed them and shared that information with them, and they do not have to ask for it. As soon as they register that offer, if you have not posted that price change, you must send them that form and say, by the way, we adjusted the price, just need to let you know before your offer is presented.
How would you,
Yeah,
I was just gonna
prove
say,
that?
how would you?
Yeah, I would
how
need-
they
I would-
know that there's
I would
a price
delete
change?
that form, the signed form, and nobody will know.
The offer doesn't go together. You've now posted,
No, let's say my client signed the price change now, and you're doing an offer and you contact me, I'll just cancel that. We never signed it. I would,
So you're actually gonna commit fraud.
no, I mean, I'll tell my.
Just
client,
wanna make
"Wanna-
sure I'm
I think you should
understanding.
cancel it." If the client says cancel it, don't reduce the price.
And why is the actual client canceling the price change?
Because offers come.
You must supply the information with or without a request from the cooperating brokerage. So now you cancel that. You don't report it.
If it comes back, we are done.
I'm not gonna jeopardize my license or a piece of paper because I want to deal fairly with somebody. Just, I've never done it, not gonna do it, right? But I do know of
Yeah.
situations where they, oh, hey, we just did, we got an offer. Well, let's keep that paperwork back here for a while.
It's not
So-
Once it's signed,
But
it
it's
has to
not
be
been
disclosed.
uploaded. It's still.
It's a valid, as soon as it's signed, it's valid. It's valid,
Regardless if it's been updated or not, it's valid.
okay?
And you need to voluntarily disclose it.
And understand, they would not be adding this if it wasn't happening. Okay? Just, I'm trying to protect your backsides because when you have this many boards, that many regulators looking at all this, there's reasons why that's there. Okay?
Scott,
Yeah.
The first half of that large paragraph.
Yeah.
That's only if you put up your sign first and haven't uploaded it.
Correct.
So you've uploaded in the system and then you put up your sign.
You've uploaded it, if it's uploaded in the system, then
You're good.
you're good, right? It's just that time frame in between.
Sometimes the signed person comes earlier, you know,
Yeah.
like their appointments are booked. So you
Right.
have to coordinate as best as you can.
It is just a fact that if somebody
Would cease
requests
to-
it because you no longer can go, you know what, yeah, as I said, yeah, it'll be loaded up later. No, you gotta send them the information now. Okay? Okay, 3.01, page 10. Okay. Something else, okay? Members are responsible, we're up here, members are responsible for the accuracy of all information submitted to the MLS system, including photographs and all documentation. No language, okay, magic word, no language in the MLS listing shall be used to override or diminish this responsibility. The association is not obligated to or responsible for reviewing the accuracy or proprietary of any MLS data information form, MLS listing agreement, or documents attached. Members must immediately correct any inaccuracies and notify the association when necessary. Any idea why they reference no language? How many listings do you bring up and you look at it and the listing agent says, all measurements are approximate, buyer agent to confirm taxes, buyer agent to blah, blah, blah. You will get fined. Okay? It cannot be anywhere on the listing. You are a licensed professional realtor. It is your job to make sure the data is correct. You, as the licensed realtor, are representing to the rest of the membership the data is correct and you've verified and checked it. So you cannot put anything on the listing agreement, anything to do in the photos, any of that that says,
RSA.
okay,
I have a question.
yeah,
So I know by law, we are supposed to measure every room. That's on the thing. I agree.
yeah,
But I've had it where, when I do the virtual tour, the guy comes and he does the actual, what's the other thing called, eye guide or whatever? the
yeah,
measurement?
so the measuring.
Can I put down measurements per eye guide, that part?
If you want
Yeah.
to reference where you got your measurements from,
That's legal, right?
That's
Because it's
fine.
based- And usually it's one of the attachments, including the schedule, there's a floor plan or
Yeah.
one of the pictures.
all you're doing is referencing where you got your
Similar to a
measurements from,
builder's floor plans and all that.
right?
Yeah.
So you're referencing.
Yeah.
That's fine. What you're not doing on there is saying measurements are all approximate. Buyer agent to verify themselves. Can't do that.
Can they still say, sellers do not warrant the retrofit of the basement.
That is different.
That's different. Okay, this is just something else. Okay.
Okay, all right. So number 3.02, okay? By submitting an MLS listing to the MLS system, the member represents and warrants to the association and to all members that a valid, complete, and accurate MLS agreement and documents attached that comply with the applicable requirements of the MLS rules is in effect between the seller and the listing brokerage, and that the MLS listing is complete and accurate, okay? The submission of an MLS listing to the PropTX MLS system shall not affect the listing brokerage's ownership rights and the listing brokerage's MLS listing agreement and documents. So all they're saying is you are representing that, yes, everything I'm submitting is correct. And the board doesn't own that information. You, as the relationship between you and your seller, do. Okay? All MLS listings submitted to the MLS system shall be completed on current approved MLS listing agreements and MLS data information forms. I know people create kits. I know people create saved documents. Okay? Understand you must use, and it always has been there, okay, the most up-to-date and approved paperwork, okay? So even in your kits, just double check and make sure, especially this time of year, between now and the end of January, February, lots of documents get updated. But I know agents that, oh yeah, I know it's in my kit, I'm gonna use my kit. And I can see the actual paperwork is outdated.
Yeah, I see it too.
Sky Slope has a little exclamation point that says new,
Forms are not up.
yeah, forms not updated, and then you click it.
But if you don't click it,
You
you're
gotta
still,
click it. I
you're
know, that's
still
what I'm
using
saying.
your old forms,
Yeah.
okay?
Just
So,
look out for that.
so now understand that they're saying, yes, you have to use, and we know you've always had to do this. Now they're saying, oh, by the way, we're gonna do random audits. So you may have all the initials and all the signatures and stuff, but if your paperwork shows up and the bottom part is not the most up to date, you're in violation.
So what do you do in that case? You then have to go and get them all, like, new documents signed?
No, you make sure your documents are all correct.
I know,
So
I know,
that-
but I'm
Let's
just
say you made a
saying,
mistake.
Yeah.
You're human,
Yeah.
that can happen.
Yeah.
What's the recourse then? What do you do if you found out later that you have to redo the paperwork and backdate it because you can't new date? Because it was
Okay.
dated.
Backdating anything doesn't work. I would submit the paperwork and say, my apologies, I didn't realize, I updated my system and I didn't realize this form didn't update. I have now updated my system. Do not try to hide anything in this day and age, okay? There's so many ways that it can be searched, okay? And they're not trying to be, police is like, but they're trying to make it so that the consumers know they're dealing with a profession that is all uniform. Okay? So that's why it's important to make sure you do that, okay? And that's where just make sure your kits are updated, make sure if you're not using kits that you're going in, and make sure that the clauses, I see this all the time. I have some agents that have saved clauses that they like using, except they're not updated. And we've seen offers come from other brokerages to our office and I review them and they still have the old clause stating on how they're using the old large value. It's like, that's been gone for a year.
Or the electronic signature.
Right? Like there's lots of things. Just make sure you're using the up to date.
I have a question. If we receive an offer, which is.
Yeah.
What do I do? I have to tell the agent to redo it?
You can just say to the agent, this
It's not bad.
it's outdated.
form's outdated.
Yeah, but then he has to redo it himself before he submits.
Yeah. That's,
And if I didn't do it, I'm also now on the hook because I should.
if you didn't bring it to somebody's attention and you knew about it,
Oh, I mean, if I didn't know.
Right. Yeah. So it's just, and again, it's just making sure everyone's following the same rules, okay? Basically, again, 3.04, and this is all within, okay? All remarks must appear in the appropriate field on an MLS listing. This is where there's a big change, okay? Because the forms that PropTX are using currently, now they're updating them, and the forms that ITSO we're using, ITSO has more fields to fill in,
I was about to say, yeah.
okay? Yeah, so they have more fields to fill in and the information you're putting in has to be in the exact field. Okay, so I'm gonna go through this. This is one of the biggest changes, okay? So in the public facing fields, okay, the public facing fields shall only display comments which provide pertinent information concerning the property, including but not limited to descriptions of the property, information about renovations, etc. Okay, the brokerage remarks field shall only display comments which provide pertinent information that could impact cooperating brokerages, including but not limited to any terms of the MLS listing agreement that would modify either the total remuneration payable to the listing brokerage or the offer of remuneration payable to the cooperating brokerage and seller contact information. Okay, so understand right now, most of everybody that's been on TREB, you've only had the two fields. You've had the public remarks, you've had the brokerage remarks, you've had, further, you've had inclusions, exclusions, but as far as actual fields to fill in, you've only had two. On ITSO, there's been a third, and the third is the offer remarks field, okay, shall display all comments related to the registration of offers and seller direction, including but not limited to the date and time of the offer presentation, if the seller is reserving the right to review preemptive offers, and seller direction that the cooperating brokerage not be in attendance during offer presentation, and the appointment showing remarks field should display all information related to the showing. Okay, this is different than anybody that has not used an ITSO form. Okay, because on TREB, I'm going to reference it to TREB, that where anything to do with, offer presentation is set for such and such a time, such and such a date, it was always in the brokerage remarks. There was no other place to put it. Okay. The new forms, hopefully they have them out by December 2nd, but the new forms on PropTX will have the additional offer remarks area and the actual appointment showing area. Okay, anybody that was part of ITSO and has used the ITSO form, you're very familiar with this, right? During audits with the MLS, especially from Oakville and Hamilton and Niagara, this is where the biggest issue was. Agents were putting the information about, showing requirements in the wrong spot. Information about offer presentation in the wrong spot. It's a violation. Okay, so when you're filling out the forms, now you will see that where you're going to do your offer presentation time or anything to with restrictions on offers, things like that, there's a specific spot for it. Okay. Up until, and further down, they did say that if that is still not showing up as of December 2nd, then any offer information can still be put in broker remarks for now. Okay, but when that area shows up, you must only put that information in that spot. That's one of the biggest changes. Okay. Let me go 3.04. Now here's the other thing to note. Okay, I'm putting this in there because RICO requires that the most up-to-date directions are included in any listing notes, print and online. Okay, so right now, if you have offer presentation time that's delayed, right, that has to be posted so that consumers can see that. So with ITSO, the showing instruction areas actually will show up on the public side. With TREB right now, if it's only in the broker remarks, that doesn't show up on the consumer side. So what has been happening is you're then seeing some of that comment put into the public remarks Or what I highly recommend is, and it probably is going to become mandatory, it was mandatory with some of the other boards, is if you are using the form, I believe it's 244 for offer, anything, offer restrictions, things like that, upload it as an attachment to your MLS listing. Because the attachments are available to the consumers. Okay? Because then you have fulfilled your RICO obligation for what?
So then you don't have to put it in there. if
You
that's
you
exact-
still have to put it in the proper form. You still have to put it in, right? You still have to put it in, but it always, I attach it as an attachment.
So can you expand that? I've never heard of that before. So if I have an offer presentation today at 2 PM, but for whatever reason, it's getting delayed until 4 PM, that's when I do that?
No, it's when you take a listing. Or during your listing period of time, you know, you see people reduce the price and go, okay, now we're gonna delay the offer presentation for 5 days from now
Gotcha.
at such and such a time,
I see.
okay? Consumers need to be aware of that. Other brokerages need to be aware of that,
I see.
okay?
Do you know if that's going to be searchable? A searchable field? Because I find that I would prefer be able to search for that, where it's like offer presentations on this day. You know, my clients don't want to participate in that.
If they're searching the listing, it's gonna pop up.
Okay, so,
Like if they find the listing, it's gonna show. And you as the realtor, if that's the listing your clients are looking at, then you review everything, you're gonna see more than once.
okay, so now it's going to be visible to my clients.
If it's a delayed offer, it should be already.
Yeah.
That's a RICO rule already. So
Excellent.
if you're not putting this out there, that you have, right, most up-to-date directions for offers. Okay, if that's not on the consumer side, including in print and online, if you're advertising any of that, you're in violation of RICO. Okay? Any questions so far? All right, no one's getting in trouble yet. Okay.
Don't say yet.
3.05. Okay, information published on the MLS system shall relate directly to the listed real estate and MLS listing agreement. Okay, so public facing fields of an MLS listing shall not include any information that promotes goods and services or any form of solicitation. Specifically, an MLS listing must not include any form of self-promotion of the member or third-party information, including, but not limited to, telephone numbers, email addresses, URLs, with the exception that the phrases, okay, so this is where in the public area, you'd see, you know, for more information, go to www.scottgilmour.com. You should all be putting that on your listing, by the way.
It should.
Yeah, www.scottgilmour.com. Don't write that down. Come on, I thought that was pretty good.
Yes.
All right, so. That's where, you know, or, but you can, okay, you can say. Visit my website for further information about this listing. You cannot put the URL. You cannot, but you can use, or visit the Realtor website for further information about this listing. That is valid to be on the public side. As they then have to make an effort to go find you.
Yeah, but then you're promoting the public who are under contract.
No, you're just saying for more information,
Oh.
right? So whereas in other cases, people were putting down, you know, visit my website, here's my website, or here's my phone number, contact me for more information, or contact me to view this property. Can't do it, okay? So, important to understand that, okay? The brokerage remarks field may include the name, address, telephone number, email address, or facsimile number of members to be contacted for more information about the property, because only the other agents see that. Okay? Okay, simple, no member shall submit an MLS listing to the MLS system that contravenes the PropTX MLS rules or the association bylaws. The association may, in its sole direction, deem any such MLS listing to be invalid and either remove it from the system or refuse to publish it. So unless your information's correct, and if you put it up and it's not correct, and if they deem it to be invalid, they will remove it. And they have the authority to do that. Currently, we do get notified by TREP if there's a violation. I'm not sure how PropTX is going to do it. I would assume that, let me correct that, because the Ottawa board, I do get notifications about some listings there. So most boards give you that, they notify you today, it's got to be fixed by the end of day tomorrow. Okay, so they will give you the opportunity, they won't automatically fine. Okay, so without limiting the generality of foregoing other provisions of the MLS, listings shall not be accepted by the association as an MLS listing, and it has a whole bunch of exclusions here. Simply is, if you are excluding any member from showing, if you put down that, this person can't show this listing, it will not be published. If it excludes any members from acting as cooperating brokerages, it will not be published. Okay, this does happen. I have had agents call me and go, Scott, my client wants to go on MLS, but they do not want the last listing agent to have any access to the property whatsoever.
Something had happened with them, yeah. So you
Can't
can't
do it.
What if they were restraining order on them? They were not listed.
Then
The law takes effect, yeah.
you can't
But
contract
you can't
outside
put
the
it
law.
on there.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, you all, if you get sellers that say that kind of stuff, or, I don't want that company around the corner, I don't want any of their agents in my house. Can't do it. Okay? And if the listing is not at least accompanied by one picture, it will not be published. If the listing is not accompanied by at least one picture that reflects the actual property, okay, it will not be published. Okay, so it must at least have one image of the subject property. And if it is, for instance, if it's vacant land, then you could take just a picture of the vacant land. If it is a new construction, artist rendering is acceptable, but no picture is not acceptable. Okay. The other issue is if all mandatory fields have not been completed, when you load your listing,
You won't accept it anyway.
most of the time you can verify, and then it'll say, nope, you missed this, you got to put this in, you got to put that in. Okay, it will not take it. So it's got to be filled in. The issue will be though, if you fill in information that is not correct just to get past that field, you're in violation. Okay, so you can try and fudge your way through it and say, oh yeah, I put a number in, or I put a measurement in, right? Right? So if all mandatory fields have not been completed, it will not be published. Okay? Where realty taxes are required to appear on the MLS system as a mandatory field, the amount to be shown shall be the current year's annual taxes, or if not available, the prior year's annual taxes. In instances where the current or prior year's annual taxes are not available, an MLS system field selection indicating taxes not yet assessed will be chosen. Okay? And then you also have to put in the brokerage remarks, taxes not yet assessed. Okay? A mandatory field will not be deemed complete unless the information in the field is accurate. That's what I was saying. You can't skip by just by putting false information in. Okay? All registered title holders must be included in the seller's field. If there is insufficient space in the seller's field to list all names, then this information may be continued to the brokerage remarks. So if you have lots of sellers and it doesn't fit in, you must put it in broker remarks. Additional sellers are. Okay. So everybody that signed that listing agreement, name has to be up there. Okay. If a submitted MLS listing is deemed invalid as hereinbefore provided, the association shall send notice to the member information by 11:59 next business day. So we already talked about that, okay? Now, where you're going to have some difficulties is ITSO members have already been, they needed to put in the assessment roll number. They needed to put in the PIN number. They needed to put in the actual square footage, not a range. And you have to say where that square footage came from. Okay, on TREB,
Age is another
yeah,
one.
age you didn't have to put. Age on ITSO, you had to put. And you had to say where you got that from. Square footage now is going to be mandatory, not just a range. Okay, how you get the square footage? Either iGuide, you can use the iGuide, you can, you know.
User measure?
Yeah,
You want to measure the
So-
staircase.
so you have to make an effort. There's no effort, you got to get the information. Okay? So, any suggestions on where you get the square footage seems to be the biggest issue.
I would, can I just
House
comment?
for
I would
$5.
suggest get your floor plans made because they all show the square footage and then your buyers have nice floor plans for viewing. I actually just had a buyer who wouldn't look at a house without a floor plan posted.
The easiest thing is getting, like, when you're doing your, be a professional, okay? Like, I'm just gonna throw this out there. I get so frustrated as an agent going through the MLS system, and I can tell when the lazy realtor took out their cell phone and went click, click, click. I'm going, you lazy son of a, be a professional. Get it done right,
You see them in the picture.
right? And it's just like,
Yeah, reflection.
and
You have a lot of laughing people.
well, it's ridiculous. Like, I've got clients of mine that go, Scott, what amateur did this? I'm going, I know. They were afraid to spend $1,000 to get proper floor plans, proper aerial views, proper detailed measuring. Like, and if you don't want to spend that, there's the floor plan, you can get a floor plan done for a couple $100. Right? Don't be like every other agent, okay? Be the professional. They're paying you big bucks to help get this house sold or property sold. Right? I'm like, the stuff I do now, I've upped my game because you need to. I got aerial videos being done. My average, when I take a listing, floor plans, digital walkthrough, aerials, everything that I could attach to that, my bill's about $1,200. I'm sorry. I can tell you that I started doing video walkthroughs easily 10, 12 years ago, where nobody thought it was worth spending the money. And that time it was costing me about $2,500. I had a listing in High Park, 3.2 million. I sold it based on that video to a high-end finance person in Calgary that just got transferred to Toronto. He said, if this looks as good as it does on the video, I'm submitting an offer now. I double-ended it for 2.85. So if you're not spending the money to make your properties look the best they can, you're just doing a disservice to yourself and more so to your client. So get off your wallets and do it right. Okay, that's my speech for today.
Wow.
So make sure all the information is correct. Make sure you can verify it. Don't wing it. Okay? They're looking for that kind of stuff. You had questions, sorry.
Alroy kind of answered it. Tina was wondering how you get a floor plan for a 50-year-old house.
No, you get the first.
They hire a company to go do it. Yeah.
Alroy, was the answer.
Yeah, oh, Elroy already did it. All right, way to go, Elroy. All right, let me, God, I hate agents. Okay. All right, 3.10, next page, please, because this is also important. Okay, 3.10, only one MLS listing for any one trade function signed by the same seller may be placed on the MLS system at any one time. The following are examples of what are considered separate trade functions under this rule. I always get this where it's, I got a client, we're gonna try and sell it, or we're gonna try and rent it. Can I post it as both rental or an sale? The answer is yes, because it is classified as being two separate trade functions. Okay? So you can do it. You cannot do it as one listing.
I've seen agents who put it for sale and then in the remarks, it's also available, but they don't have a listing for it separately. This is 3,000 a month. Is that legal?
It's separate trade.
Yeah.
So it's gotta be two MLSs.
Yeah.
Okay? Furnished and unfurnished, absolutely. We're offering it furnished at this price, we're offering it unfurnished, two separate MLSs. You can do that. Sale by property owner, or it's also under power sale. So you could have two separate MLSs for that. Okay? You're allowed to do that. Now, here's the other part. With commercial listings, they'll allow up to 3 property types. Okay, permitted on the MLS system at the same time. Properties with both residential and commercial uses may be listed on both residential and commercial classes. So yes, you can do that. Okay, any questions so far on that particular spot?
So I've never come across this, but in the furnished, unfurnished, so I would have to create 2 listings, one furnished at this price, unfurnished at this price. I cannot say this is the price for furnished. If you wanted unfurnished,
Yeah, you can reference it in the broker remarks. And just say, you know, this property also available furnished, MLS number.
yeah, okay, but I have to have 2 separate listings. I can't just say, call me if you want it unfurnished for a different price kind of thing.
Yeah, because you also understand that consumers, some of them will only search furnished.
Right.
They're not gonna find your unfurnished. Right? Question?
Yeah, I think it's part of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the 3.10, what about sale of property and sale of property with business?
So that's commercial and residential. Business is commercial, property is the residential side.
Provided it comes under residential, under fourplex or under store and apartment.
Yeah, depending on the classification of it. Yep, okay. All properties that are traded separately shall be listed separately. All properties that are traded together must be together, so you can't, right? The other thing to keep in mind is that the MLS's 3.13, all MLS listings shall show the names of the brokerage members that are party to the MLS agreement. If there is insufficient space in the specified field, then this information can be continued to the broker remarks. This is more important now because our brokerage is a designated representative brokerage. So on your MLS listings or on your listings, you have the names of people that are now representing the seller. You see this with teams sometimes. Well, they'll put this 3 people are representing the seller only. Those 3 names, if they're on that listing agreement, those 3 names need to show up on the MLS system. You can't just put the team leader. Okay, so, right? So for instance, I've now added Michelle to any listings I get. And on the listing, it says, you know, designated representative, Scott Gilmour, Michelle Gilmour. I have to show Michelle on the listing agreement as on the MLS listing agreement as well. I can't just omit her name and just have it on the paperwork. And if they do an audit and they see you have these names, and this really only applies to anywhere on the listing agreement that you're actually saying who's representing the seller. Okay. Everybody understand that? And if you have multiple names and it doesn't fit where it is, you have to put it in the brokerage forms. Okay. This is one that I get questioned on. This is now uniform across all of PropTX. An MLS listing agreement shall run for a period of not less than 60 days. Okay, from the commencement date. Not all boards had a limitation. Okay, Treb has always had, they will not process and you cannot broker load it if it's less than 60 days. And you will get consumers, I've heard this, I got agents calling me, go, my client only wants me to put it on the MLS for a couple weeks. The MLS listing agreement has to be for a minimum of 60 days. That's,
Nobody else can change it anyway. Any other agent
Right.
will not say I can do it.
now, if you have a separate agreement that is an addendum to your listing agreement,
That you will cancel them.
that they have the right to cancel based on non-performance, blah, blah, blah. And that's a term of your agreement, right? And it could be on your Schedule A. But you cannot take a listing on an MLS, which is dated for less than 60 days. From the commencement date to the end of the expiry date. Okay? All right, let's skipping through all this stuff. Okay, 3.16. All right, so MLS listings appearing on the MLS system shall be immediately available, subject to applicable legislation and the rights of and reasonable accommodations to the occupancy for showings, inspections, and registration of offers. Once an MLS listing is conditionally sold, okay, this is one you gotta listen to. The requirement that the MLS listing be available for showings shall continue unless otherwise directed by the seller in writing. The seller's instructions on showings must be accurately reflected in the MLS listing. Okay. Anybody know what that's referencing? Okay, tell me.
Well, every time I sell a place, I take it off, like I stop the broker bid from showing.
Okay,
But I'm now supposed to put a remark on the listing.
so when you sell one of your listings,
Yeah. it's
your
so-
seller basically says, are we done with showings? Because I'm exhausted. And you go, sure, yeah. And you basically then report it to the MLS as sold conditionally. And so you then cancel the showings.
But I need it in writing.
You have to have something in writing now and you have to post that to say, as per written instructions from the seller, seller has requested no more showings during conditional period.
And would the text message be okay, or you need a form?
Needs to be in writing.
Yeah,
So if you can prove that it is in writing somehow, I'm not sure if a text message will be valid. I'm sure if you push the issue, that would be fine.
but otherwise there's a form, right? The
Or-
same thing, the one that delayed, of course.
Yeah, it's the same form where you
It just
have
says
something,
other
but where it says other, you would just put in there. Seller now instructs, brokerage, no more showings during the conditional period. Yeah, Lorena,
Okay, so let's assume you don't put that there.
okay,
And you go to the one. And then they send a message, they say, you can confirm it because it's so provisional.
yeah.
That, okay?
You can request a copy of the seller's signature saying that there's no more showings. Because your consumers, based on the MLS rules, consumers have the right to look at any properties that are still available. Technically under conditional, they are still available. Okay? I have lots of my sellers go, Scott, I don't want to buy through. It's 5 business days. I don't want to buy through. Let's just I have not been getting it in writing. I either chat with them or I get an email from them. Now there's a process that you must make sure that you've got written instructions. Okay, any questions on that? Okay. In the event the MLS listing becomes unavailable for showings, inspections, or registration of offers, the MLS listing shall be suspended by the listing brokerage. Well under suspension, a record of all requests by cooperating brokerages or for showings, inspections, and registrations of offers shall be kept by the listing brokerage. Okay, you've suspended a property, you get an agent that reaches out to you and goes, hey, I see it's suspended. I've got clients that would like to see it. No, there's no showings. You got to maintain who that person was. And as soon as it's available for showings, you must inform that person. You can't just assume because you put it back on the MLS, that person's going to see it. You must maintain any requests. Okay, while it's suspended for showings, and then immediately when it's available, you must reach out as the listing agent to that person and say, as per your earlier request, just letting you know the property is now available for showings. Okay, got it? Okay, upon the seller rescinding the suspension, I already talked about that, listing broker immediately, okay. 3.17, MLS listings on the MLS system shall contain all information necessary for preparing an offer for sale, lease, or sublease. Do you know what this is referencing? You'll see this more in commercial than you will in residential. Any of our commercial people out there know what I'm referencing? You'll see listings on commercial, as I say, more so commercial, that'll say landlord's name to be revealed for offer. That's in violation now. I cannot, if I'm an agent, prepare an offer if I don't know who the landlord is or the owner of the building is. So lots of commercial people will put out there,
Maybe only after.
before preparing your offer, contact me for the owner's name and owner's, yeah. Can't do
You
it.
start quoting now,
Yeah,
according to 3.17.
Yeah, you have to give it to.
numbered company should be on, should be right on.
there, but
should-
you still have to reveal who the owner of the
No,
No,
because
not that
the
part.
company is, you're talking about revealing the shareholders of the company?
Yeah.
No, but if your numbered company is on the MLS, then that's fine. That's fine. Where the issue is, and I say most of this is commercial, where they just, listing agents don't want to tell you who their clients are,
Yes, so yeah.
right? So, but under the rules, they now you have to be able to prepare an offer. And if you don't have the owner's names or landlord's names, how can you prepare the offer? You can't, okay? So that's why that part is important.
They can still suppress the price after sale.
Commercial, yes. Commercial actually has the ability, when they go to report, if it's conditional and then firms up, they do not need to post. They can have something from the seller or the landlord in writing that says they want to suppress the value until the day of closing.
Yeah, only after that.
After closing, then the MLS is updated with the actual price. Okay. Necessary. Okay, 18. In all instances where an MLS listing agreement commences, the listing broker shall process the MLS listing through the MLS system by 11:59 p.m. the next business day, following the commencement date of the listing. This is a change for different boards at different times. Okay. TREB for the longest time was you had 48 hours. If you got a listing sign with TREB or an amendment sign or a notice to change sign, you had 48 hours to correct or load it into the system. And there are companies that I know of that would take their MLS listings, post it within their company, and then not put it on the MLS for 48 hours, hoping to get inside sales. Under TREB, you could do that. Now, under the whole PropTX system, you will have to have it. If you get something signed tonight at 10 o'clock, you only have until 11:59 the next business day to make sure it's all up in the system. Includes any amendments, any price changes, any new listings. Okay, that's one of the biggest changes for TREB members, is that you only have that period of time. It used to be 48 hours, now it's 11:59 next business day. So not 48 hours, not 24 hours, it's 11:59 next business day. Okay, so that's one to make sure that you're aware of. Okay. Another one, and I do see this, I'm guilty of it myself. So, who knew?
No.
Where the lot size of a residential property is irregular, the listing brokerage shall report the frontage and the smaller dimension of the depth and identify irregular as the lot shape of PropTX MLS system. I always used to put the frontage, the longest side, And then I would put where I would say lot irregular, back this side, this way, right? Under this rule, you have to put shortest. Okay? Just letting you know, I've done it recently. So I'm not gonna be able to do that anymore, right? So, the listing broker shall update the MLS system. We talked about this no later than 11:59 next business day following any amendments, changes, or anything to the MLS. So lots of this changes is really how you're handling your MLS data. Okay, it's not big scary stuff. But you got to do it right because they're going to audit.
So they're trying to protect the consumer, majority of the things. Like
This is
so, but you're not allowed to take a 30-day listing if a consumer wants it that way. So how is that nice for the consumer if they want it that way? Get it? Like, that's a double standard. Like, they want to protect the consumer. I'm your consumer, I want to list it for 30 days. I should be allowed to do that. I'm just saying, I don't want that to happen either. I'm just saying, if they're protecting consumer, they should look after whatever their needs are, right? I'm just saying.
But I'm just saying, the consumer wants you to list it exclusively.
That's not allowed even now, but they put.
Because it falls underneath the rules and regulations, of organized real estate. They want to play with organized real estate. They have to follow, you have to follow the rules as the member, right? Okay. So
In regards to the wording in the MLS system, I've come across where I've submitted the information to the client. They looked at the wording that's public facing, signed off on it, saying, yeah, the wording is perfect, thank you. And then 2 days later, oh, hey, I need to change this, this, and this, and this. Do I need now a new MLS form? Or just an amendment? But I need something, I need paperwork showing, hey, this is what's submitted. They want these changes, sign off on these changes now, and then upload it to the MLS system.
Yeah. So you're basically doing, you're basically doing a listing agreement amendment. Yep. Question, thought? Has to be in writing.
Has to be in writing, okay. But it needs a proper form, or can it be just a simple email? Hey Herb, I forgot to add this stuff.
Confirmation of correspondence, I'm sure will work fine. The easiest way though is if you're gonna do that, even if you just want to draw up a quick email document or something and just drop it into e-signing and send it off, say, I just need you to initial off on this.
Okay,
And then put it in your file.
gotcha.
Okay, because under an audit, as I said, they're gonna look at the most current MLS. And they're gonna check all that information. They're gonna look at your paperwork and they're gonna go, wait a minute, you did these amendments here. Where's the authorization from the consumer?
Gotcha.
Okay. So that part,
Sorry.
Yep, yep.
So that just happened, something similar to that just happened. So that rental I have.
Yeah.
We went in, she wanted me to add certain wording to what was listed.
Okay.
But I didn't get her to sign a form for it. We just did it online and changed the wording, added that it had, distilled water and this and that. Those little extras.
If it-
I only did an amendment for the price change.
yeah, if anything that doesn't match up to the current MLS information has to be initialed by the consumer.
This is like, so now moving forward, anything I do change as of December 3rd, or now do I still have to go back?
Even today, that should be, even today, but wait till the December 2nd.
Yeah.
Okay, and why that is, so this is why that's there. You get a consumer that complains and says, my agent, that information showing up on the MLS, I didn't give them any authorization to put that description of my house. I didn't give them authorization to talk about blah, 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 blah. And if you do not have that documented, you're in violation under RICO. You're in violation under your board. Okay. So now just make sure that it's all documented. And the reason they brought in a lot of this stuff is because of consumer complaints. So it's not like they're trying to, make you, you got to do it this way. They're doing it because consumers are complaining about this. This is all a part of with RICO, when they sat with RICO and said, what are the biggest complaints and changes? How do we fix this? So you got an email, signature signed off saying, yep, here, this is what they told me to put. They approved it. You're safe. Okay. So that section was all about really working with the data. Okay, now, the next part is reporting what actually takes place, okay? So, next one, please. And this happens, okay, when an MLS listing is processed as both a residential and a commercial MLS listing on the MLS system, the trade shall be reported for both MLS listing numbers. How many of you have taken a rental? Or, let's put it, no, more of a commercial and residential. Sold it on the residential side, reported it on the residential side, and went, you know what? Let's just cancel the commercial listing, right? It happens. Can't happen anymore.
Both have to be reported.
Both have to be reported. Okay? What? Okay, so the sale, sublease, or sale, lease, or sublease of a residential or commercial MLS listing shall be reported by the MLS, the listing brokerage through the MLS system, whether conditional or firm by 11:59 next business day of acceptance of the offers, okay? Members shall not be permitted to avoid these notice obligation to the association by, for example, canceling an MLS listing between the receipt, okay, or anticipated receipt and the acceptance of the offer, or encouraging the seller to do so. You understand what I'm saying?
No.
You wait for the deposit before you.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say.
So here's what happens. And this is why, and I love that they're doing such. So so now you've got, okay, you've got a listing. Maybe you've got it 2 places, or you've got it, you go, you know what? Now we got it sold. I got the deposit. Why don't we just cancel the listing?
Oh, yes, I do.
That way we don't have to report it.
Oh, cancel the
See a lot
listing
with-
altogether?
See that a lot with leases.
Right? So they now have got a deal and go, you know what? I'm not gonna report it. You know, if the seller goes, I don't want anybody knowing I sold my house for that much money. Well, let's just cancel the listing. You are in violation,
CRA probably.
right? You are in violation, okay? So can't do it. Okay, a commercial sale, lease, or sublease price shall be reported using the original unit, time of reporting a firm transaction, or with commercial, you can request that the price be suppressed until after closing, okay? All changes in the status of a reported conditional sale on the MLS listing shall be reported by the listing brokerage by 11:59 next business day following the change. Okay. Also, if you have a condition, okay, and the condition expiry date is coming up, and you are in the process of negotiating back and forth because you know, they need extra time and all that stuff. You only have 11:59 from the next business day to update that listing. Unfortunately, what happens a lot of times is agents are going, yeah, well, we're negotiating back and forth, and goes on for like a week. The board basically sends us information right away and goes like, this was supposed to be done. Like you're in violation, okay? So if you are going back and forth, you only have 2 options. You basically have to extend the conditions for a period of time, or within that period of 11:59 next business day, you got to report his deal fell through.
Even if
Because-
you didn't get a mutual rate,
Technically, the deal fell through when your conditions weren't met,
that's just formality.
right? So it has to be updated.
What if the conditions
Yeah,
are
what if the-
extended?
If the conditions are extended before the expiry time, you're fine. You just, and then you go in and you just update the conditions, that's all. Oh, yeah, no,
You have to sign by
the amendment would be extending the conditions, right? You can't do anything verbally. Right? So if you got an amendment that extended the conditions, you must make sure it's reported by 11:59 PM the next business day.
What if it's, you know, we were talking with a deposit, so you've got an accepted offer,
Accepted offer,
deposit needs to be in within 24 hours.
But sometimes they take longer.
And sometimes they say,
One
oh, it's a
more step.
weekend, I can't.
so under RICO, under RICO, not just the board, under RICO, if your instructions say that in the agreement,
One business day, right?
it says within 24 hours. Or
It's a Sunday or a long weekend.
have you put that into the actual offer? If you are changing something to do with the deposit, and I highly recommend you do this. If you know you're gonna get an offer on Friday night, the offer comes in and it says deposit, the standard deposit clause is within 24 hours.
But it's considered.
Doesn't say 24 business hours. That's not for the deposit. Deposit, so in your, if you know you're gonna have that, it's just as easy to say, just put a clause right in the offer. Just say to the agent who's bringing the offer, look, we're doing this on Friday night or Saturday. Just put a clause in the offer that says the buyer and seller agree that deposit can be delivered to the listing broker or the deposit holder by such and such a time, Monday or Tuesday, and just put it in. That covers it.
Because everybody agreed.
Yeah. Okay. So just think of that when if you're doing offers, if you are, because if not, it doesn't make the deal null and void. It means it's a breach of the agreement. Okay. But either way, any changes, keep in mind, that's not 48 hours, it's 11:59 next business day. Okay.
Scott, can I ask you a quick question? On
Yeah.
this new system, are all agents able to report conditional and sold firm themselves?
No,
Okay,
yeah,
so the same as what it was.
same as, yeah. And that's where, that's a setting in there that the brokerage has the last authority to report that. Okay. Okay, so prior to reporting a transaction to the MLS, this is a new one. Okay, this is important to understand, okay? Prior to reporting a transaction to the MLS system, chattels and other elements included in the sale price, but not contained in the original MLS listing agreement, shall be added to the MLS listing in the conclusions field before it's reported. Okay? Questions? Understand? Here's an example. I have a listing. My listing references nothing to do with the appliances. Right? Doesn't say appliances included in, nothing. The offer comes in, offer gets accepted, and in that agreement is fridge, stove, washer, dryer, dishwasher, all the window coverings, okay? That wasn't on the original listing or on the listing prior to that agreement. Before you report it sold,
You have to go into this.
you have to go into the listing, edit the listing and add in anything that was not contained in the original MLS. You know why? Any reason why?
We were told offer supersedes any MLS now,
Right?
right?
So why would you have to
Go ahead.
not only go in, but you also have to take out anything that you had on the MLS listing that didn't get included, that was supposed to be included. Okay? Because the last MLS listing that is published on the system is the one that's used for all the appraisals. And so in the agreement, if your agreement is showing different terms to your actual MLS listing, the accuracy of your MLS listing is no longer correct. So how can I, as a realtor, rely on the information which prior to you said, your organized real estate information on your MLS listing is accurate. Now I've just pulled up your sold information, your sold listing. And I'm going based on what your listing MLS last updated one shows, and it doesn't match the stuff in the offer, you're in violation. How can I do a proper CMA if I can't rely on the accurate information of the MLS system? I got news for you. $3-4 million property, doesn't matter the value.
They're usually.
Appliances, you walk through, right? All of a sudden,
It's 50.
All the appliances were included. All the patio furniture around the landscape pools included. Wasn't on the MLS listing. That could be $40,000-$50,000 in difference in my evaluation.
Appraisal of a house is based on the house itself, not the necessarily.
Evaluation of a property is based on location, property, inclusions, fixtures, updates,
I agree, but that's the thing.
right? So first part is, you agree as a member of organized real estate to make sure your MLS listing is accurate. You cannot say, you know, it's up to you, the buyer broker, you know, take this information because it really isn't, you know, can't tell you if it's accurate. No, it has to be accurate. How can it not be accurate if you're doing something different on your agreement of purchase and sale than what you're actually showing to the membership? So that's a big change, okay? So make sure you're gonna do that. That's one of the biggest changes. The other ones are sort of minor, you know, timelines and things like that. This is a big change. Okay, any questions on that? And don't rely on us as the brokerage to be able to do that for you. You can go in and do your own editing. Because we are not gonna look at, this was your MLS listing, you made these changes, you're the professional. Go in and make those edits before you report it or get us to report it, okay? Okay, 501. This is another fun one, but this is already started, so a lot of things are already started, but there's one part that people are gonna have to switch a little bit, okay? Every image submitted to the MLS system shall prominently feature the property-specific information about the real estate component itself and aspects of the immediate surroundings that relate directly to the real estate component, including but not limited to, scene reviewed from the real estate component. Some tricky words there. Do you know what it means?
You're doing a drone video, you wanna make sure.
Drone is different. Drone is different. There are some rules for that. But what it means is, okay, the following images cannot be included in an MLS listing. Okay? Digitally altered images, including use of any artificial intelligence system or technology to create, alter, or enhance images or digital staging that do not accurately depict the real estate.
So no virtual staging?
Hang on, that's, yeah, okay, right, one,
Yeah.
okay. Images of surrounding amenities that are not in view of the listed real estate. I'm just gonna use the Niagara region. You're in a property in Niagara Falls. You're looking out on the street. You see other houses. The first picture is a picture of the falls,
Nowhere near, like it's not anywhere visible.
right? Oakville. I know. I look a bunch of listings in Oakville. And you look out from the house, you'll see over here, then they'll show pictures of the marina. They'll show pictures of downtown Oakville.
But you can put it at the end of the pictures, that it's all the area.
Is that your MLS system? Right, so images of surrounding amenities that are not in view of the listed real estate. Downtown Oakville, if I can't see it from where I listed, I can't show it. Now, this is a big issue because a lot of the virtual tours, a lot of the videos that I get done, and I know a lot of the suppliers at the end will show all the different amenities. You know, Toronto, they'll show the CN Tower, they'll show the, you're nowhere near it, can't see them. So this has changed, okay? Images of advertising or marketing messages, with the exception of architectural drawings, floor plans, maps, aerial or distance photographs related to the real estate, which is labeled as such, in any persons or digital representation of persons. So you can't have, yeah, you can't have people sort of, you know, acting out and doing things, right?
Like in pre-construction, when you get all that marketing material, we have like the digitally added people.
Artist renderings you can use for a photo, but you can attach it for pre-construction, you can attach a brochure. Okay, yes, she did, but when it comes to the actual, and there is further on in here, I'm gonna explain what it is, but I'm gonna tell you now. When it comes to artificial intelligence, you can still do virtual staging. All of the pictures have to say virtually staged on the actual picture. Okay, so anything that has
With
been,
a little description underneath.
as long as when that picture pops up, it says virtually staged,
Yeah, there's a description.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you can, and there are the photograph people I use, they already do that. They say, okay, we're doing virtual staging. That picture says photo is virtually staged.
Not in the description. The
Yeah,
description doesn't show.
No, oh, I see, okay.
Yeah, it has to be in the picture,
right?
little asterisk, virtually staged.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the difference. If you're gonna do that, it has to show that it's, and if you're doing virtual staging, always show the picture without, and then, or vice versa. You can show it virtually staged, and then the picture of it, what it looks like. The one that's virtually staged has to say virtually staged. Okay, but when it gets into the, the other aerial, the aerial stuff is fine. Right? But when it comes to showing the amenities outside of what you can physically see, you're gonna be limited now. Okay. Signs placed on properties listed on the MLS system may display such MLS marks. That's fine, you're just telling you that. So here's another one that I just want to point out. Okay, this is all part of, okay, reporting and advertising. A member shall promptly remove their MLS sign from a property where the MLS listing is expired, terminated, or suspended. You have an MLS listing. Your seller says, I'm going to wait for a week. I don't want any showings.
So when we give order,
It's suspended.
I can leave the post there.
You got to remove your sign. And then you put your sign back up when it's now back on the system. Okay. Members other than the listing brokerage may not advertise an MLS listing unless an MLS listing agreement so indicates, and members have received specific written permission from the listing brokerage prior to each occasion of advertising. A lot of times, on the listings, you'll see, agents will call or email, hey, can I advertise your listing? If you give written permission, okay, that's fine. But understand that it's for each occasion. You're not giving them carte blanche, just advertise it every time, all the time. So if you are requesting from another company to advertise their particular property, put a specific where you're going to do it and get permission on how many times you can do it. They're not just giving you carte blanche to just keep advertising it, because the complaint was, yeah, I gave the agent permission to advertise it. He told me you were just going to put one ad in. Then I find it all over billboards and everywhere. Okay, so if you're going to do that or request permission from somebody, make it specific, including how many times you can do it. Okay. And do understand, okay, that any of the information you put on your MLS listing has to be information that you gathered. Do not use another agent's. If it expired or was listed before, do not use their photos. Do not use any of their information. Do not even take I see this all the time. A property expired or was sold before, and the new listing has exactly the same description under client remarks as the previous listing.
Get a partition from the previous page.
You better get it in writing because it's a violation. Always has been, actually.
Even photos, right?
Yep. You cannot take anything from any other listing unless you actually have permission to do that. And I've done that. I had a condo I sold over here. The listing agent, when I sold it, had beautiful sunset photos. I reached out, it was like 3 years later, I reached out to her. I said, any chance, would you give me permission to use those photos you had of the sunset? My people are moving towards Ottawa. Any chance I could use them? She said, absolutely, Scott, I give you permission. I'll even send them to you. Whereas if I just took them off the MLS,
They have
put
their name anywhere.
put them, right?
company name, you know, so
So-
prop them or something.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, this is the rules. Make sure you abide by them, okay? 6.02, please. Okay, 6.02, right there. Okay, showings and appointments, lots of complaints about showings and appointments through different MLS systems. Okay,
Or is back to advertising.
yeah,
In the case of a condo, is it proper to assume we can continue to use photos of condo amenities in the listing?
yes, condo amenities are part of the actual property. Okay, yeah, those you absolutely can use. And even if the condo is, some condos, depending where they are, recreational properties, they are part of a boat slip or a complex building and things that are, like, you can't see them at all,
Yeah.
but they're part of, they have the use of the amenities, and in boat slip, things like that, you can absolutely do it.
Like, for example, Rotary Wing, like the playground.
Yeah,
That-
yeah, that's fine. A better example would be in Collingwood. There are certain condos that will have beach access. But the condo's not anywhere near the beach, but they have access to the beach. You can actually then take a picture of the beach access, take a picture of the beach, because it's part of the property. It has the rights to use that. Okay? Hopefully that answers whatever question that was. Okay? 6.02, subject to the terms of the MLS agreement, all appointments with the seller to show or inspect an MLS listing shall be made through the listing brokerage or as indicated on the MLS. Pretty straightforward, okay? Everybody knows. Whatever the showing instructions are, follow them. Okay? Every time. Where this is coming from is you get an agent that's got a lockbox, it's a vacant property. They don't bother booking another appointment, then just start using the lockbox for going in, doing measuring and all that stuff. Okay, it's a violation. Okay. Subject to the terms of the MLS listing agreement, the listing brokerage shall make appointments and confirm them without delay. Okay, a lot of times people will request a showing and whether the brokerage or the agent's not getting back to them. And it's just like, so the agents are sitting there going like, I gotta call my clients to see if they're actually gonna come out and see the place. Wait for the last minute to either confirm, or sometimes they just don't confirm or deny. It's a violation. Okay. If an appointment cannot be made, the listing brokerage shall immediately advise the cooperating brokerage requesting the appointment and continue to attempt to arrange an appointment for a time suitable to all parties. Okay, that's what I'm saying. You just can't, if you know there's an appointment request, you got to work and try and figure out how to get that appointment confirmed, or at least keep the cooperating broker, whoever's requested that appointment, in touch of what's going on with that appointment. Okay. 6.04, subject to the terms of the listing agreement, a member who is unable to keep an appointment to show or inspect an MLS listing shall immediately advise the listing brokerage prior to the appointment, who shall in turn immediately advise the seller or occupant. Okay, this is one of the bigger complaints. Agents aren't showing up. They didn't cancel the appointment. Sellers are peeved. Well, then it turns out that, yeah, actually, the cooperating broker sent a text to the listing agent and said, cancel my appointment, my people, and we're gonna have to reschedule. But, okay, but the listing agent then doesn't inform their office, doesn't inform the seller. So there's an obligation on you as the listing agent to make sure that you're also part of understanding that if there's an appointment that's been canceled or changed, you gotta make sure that you're dealing with it. Okay? So the other one is 6.05, unless otherwise agreed to in writing by the seller, a listing brokerage shall ensure that a registrant accompanies a non-registrant during the entire period for said non-registrant is at the property only during the agreed upon period. Where does this come in and where is this complaint always?
Well, you have a client who wants to view a property, you're like, listen, I'm busy today, I can't, but here's the code. Go ahead and take a look, it's vacant, don't worry about it.
That is one for sure, that's a big no-no. The other one is home inspectors, appraisers. I know so many agents that, you know what, yeah, the home inspector, yeah, I'm gonna meet them there, they open the door and they take off for a couple hours. Home inspector there by themselves, going through the house, doing their thing, and then come back. You cannot. Okay, for the whole duration that person, okay, non-registrant is on that property, it needs to have a licensed realtor there. You don't have to follow them. I'm the listing agent and I'm there, I'm always finding a reason to sort of look around and see how they're doing and point out stuff that they may not know about. Okay, but you need to be there. You can't take off to Tim Hortons and come back an hour and a half later. Yeah.
So even if you're on the buyer side, being an inspector and doing it but the listing agent doesn't have to be there.
No, it has to be at least a registrant.
Any one of us, yeah, would be,
Yeah.
but if
So-
it's listing agent says I'm gonna be there for your buyers to, buy that, then I don't have to technically be there.
As long as you believe that listing agent's gonna be there for the whole duration.
Oh,
If that listing agent all of a sudden goes, hey, I gotta go. It's your client. You have nothing in writing from the listing agent says, I will be there for the duration. It's your responsibility as the buyer broker. Okay. Yeah.
She does follow the home inspector because it's always a good learning experience.
Oh, I agree. With my buyers, if I'm doing the home inspection from the buyer side, I follow them. I'm right there. I climbed into attics. I did it the other day in my suit. Who cares? when the inspector says, you gotta see this, absolutely, I'm going to. Right? But for home inspections, as the listing agent, I go and I will make sure, because I always find, like the last one I just did on Copenhagen, I did a pre-list inspection and the guy I use and I are both looking at this switch in the garage going, what the heck is this for? Seller comes home, hey, Stan, what's this for? Oh, he says, let's do it. You plug your Christmas lights into here, you run the cord out this way and this switch turns them all on off. You're telling me that the buyer's home inspector is going to figure that one out? Gave me a good reason to go down. Hey, just thought how's things going? By the way, I want to show you something that you may not know about. You not think I'm already asking, hey, how's it going so far? What question, right? Easiest way to avoid situations on a home inspection is to be there and see what the questions are. Anyways, that's what I do. I don't cover and follow them, but I make sure they know I'm there and showing them stuff that they may not know.
Alroy concurs.
All right, you and I are same page. All right, so that's really important to understand. Big complaints there. Situations where sellers have come home unannounced and they found home inspectors wandering around their house with no agents. Appraisers run around. Okay.
so if the owner is home and I do send an appraiser there, like there makes sense, I can coordinate it and I have to be there even if the homeowner is there.
Only if you can get something in writing from the homeowner. And there are forms, there is a form already, right, in web forms or that's the seller signs that says they are okay with this person coming in between this time and that time, and they agree and understand that you're not going to be there and. Okay,
Write it out.
yeah. Like, folks, come on,
Just appraise.
like, do you know how you know how important it is to be there with the appraiser? You have any idea how you can save a deal by being there when the appraiser goes through? It is, I've done it so many times where the appraiser is basically going, thanks so much for telling me about the property around the corner. I had no idea that it had that. Thanks very much for telling me about the extra stuff they did in this property. I had no idea they did that. They don't get that by looking at the listing and walking around. Help them get the value up. Right? Okay. That's the way I've done it for 44 years, and I'm going to continue doing it. I just hope you guys all do the same and take that extra step. Photographers, anybody that's going to be on that property, I want to make sure. Like the last thing I want is my consumer, my client to come home and go, Scott, who was just here? Did you know that they did this? Did you know that this?
Use the bathroom.
Right? Right? Come on. Anyway.
Yes.
So even if it's vacant,
Even if it's big, especially.
a photographer.
Yeah, like the last one I just did wasn't vacant. People were home. They were doing the photos and stuff. I said, look, I can stay to the end. Or are you guys okay if I leave? Introduced them, and I was there for an hour. It's just still gonna be another hour and a half, Scott. My seller said, absolutely, Scott. We're good. You can go. Okay?
And that's not in writing, that's in part, that you're there in parts.
I always have my phone recording.
I better be careful what I say.
This is one of my longest time clients. If she's gonna throw me under the bus after all these years, I'd be surprised. But, okay, but just, right? But yeah, vacant properties, same. I've had situations where the people, well, they went into a vacant unit, did photos, did remeasuring or whatever, left the balcony door open, huge rainstorm that night, ruined all the floor.
Or injury too.
Right.
Somebody's in there by themselves, they get injured, they can sue the house and say, hey,
Just, this is why they're doing all of this. They ought to up the profession, right? So that's why I think this is great. I've always believed in being the best professional you can. A member shall not interfere or tamper with a lockbox of another member.
see, I told you.
Okay? You know what that means?
Don't change the code.
Just don't put the keys in your pocket because you think,
Oh, I've
Right?
had that.
Like- oh, when the market was really, really hot, it's amazing how many keys were left. That agents would show a property and go, okay, my buyers want to put an offer on this one. I'm just going to keep that key overnight.
Oh.
What?
No,
Purposely.
Purposely.
Yeah, just.
Yeah, Rita.
I'm actually glad to hear that. I had to change the code to my lockbox because he was upset with me.
He changed the
And
code.
he took out the key, yeah.
Yeah.
So he changed the code to my lockbox and I couldn't get it.
Yeah. So this is one of the reasons why, this would be one of the reasons why that you're going to find out that majority of that blue area outside of Toronto are all using electronic lockboxes.
Oh, so is that coming up here?
Okay? Do not be surprised, that's gonna start coming. Okay? Because the consumers are asking for it.
Yeah, when I go to a.
And if you actually want to go on and you read the RICO bulletin about lockboxes, if you are using an old traditional lockbox, okay, if that's what you're using, you have to be changing that code
Technically after every showing.
pretty well every third day. And if you're not, you're in violation. Okay?
I change to after it's sold, I usually change it for sure.
But technically, if you read that bulletin, if it is just a standard code, you must be changing that code. So the electronic lock boxes outside the GTA are the most common. And I gotta tell you,
You can't even go one day before your appointment.
I know, that's what you're saying, they're annoying.
if you're there early, you can't get in. You arrive late, you can't get in.
Unless you
Yeah.
call them again.
So,
Isn't that helpful? Because if you're early or you're late, technically it's not trespassing.
pretty much, yeah. Okay. A member who is in receipt of a lockbox combination or other access credentials shall not disclose the combination or access credentials to any other person without the consent of the seller. Or listing brokerage has the consent from the seller, they can tell you. Okay? Key shall be redeposited in the lockbox immediately upon exiting the property, and the lockbox shall be properly secured. That goes back to when the market was hot. How many times keys were, they were just gone, and it was like, oh, the last agent showed, wasn't me, wasn't me.
So in a condo, there's like 200 lock
Right.
boxes,
Wow,
and they
yeah,
mix up, like they take 5 keys to show, and
Yeah.
unless they're
Yes,
tagged, they tag each key with the.
Okay.
box code.
As a showing
And
agent,
then they mix-
okay, as a showing agent, just before you leave, please do a walk around. Check all sliding doors, make sure they're, check all the doors, including the one to the garage. Make sure it is how you found it.
We have locked the buyer out, I mean seller out, because
Yeah.
they usually use the garage door to come in,
Right.
they didn't have a key.
So make sure you understand, right? Because what happens sometimes is you've got your buyers with you and you're showing one and the other one actually goes back to the kitchen, opens the sliding door, closes it, leaves. The sellers come home and the kitchen door's open. It's your job, okay? It's your job to make sure that property is secured the way you found it. No excuses. So before you do that last thing, always do a walk around. Okay, and make sure that it's closed up. Okay. I know this is taking a little bit longer than we anticipated, but we're almost done. There's just, yep, we're almost done. Okay, next one,
One more with 5 subsections.
commission, remuneration, important to understand, okay? Because there is a change to this. Okay? If the offer of remuneration is altered, such change shall be made through the seller direction by way of completing an amendment to the MLS listing agreement and immediately reported through the MLS system, provided that remuneration offered to the cooperating broker shall not be altered between the time of registration of an offer and final acceptance of the offer. Okay, so any change in commission has to be in writing, has to be posted. You cannot, between the time an offer is registered, okay? So you got an offer registered. You cannot change the commission offer to the cooperating broker. Right? It happens. Agents go, hey, you know what, I've got 2 or 3 offers. Seller goes, you know what? Hey, I'm not gonna pay what I was offering that 2.5%. No, just change it to 1.5. Put it on the system right now.
Yeah, what if
Violation, can't do it.
it's part of the offer? Or
If you're
someone has
cutting
said,
commission, for example.
If there's an adjustment during the process, okay, if there's adjustment during the process, it has to be in writing.
On the confirmation of corporation.
Well, it actually should still be from the seller's direction, because technically you've actually changed the MLS.
Even
But-
though they're initially.
But during the offer process, make sure it is in writing, okay? Because this is where it comes in, is that if there is a dispute for the commission, it's all gonna be what is detailed. Okay, I know during offer presentation time, there's sometimes it's like, okay, you know what, to make this deal happen, I'm gonna adjust my fee. As long as it's in writing and all parties sign off, including buyer, seller, and both agents, that's who's involved, they all have to sign off on it.
And then MLS listing is updated.
You supposedly are supposed to do that, okay? But I'm actually challenging that wording because I believe that that change doesn't have to be reported. Because if the deal doesn't go together, you're still offering what you're offering on the MLS system, right? So you don't have to change that, okay? Where there is a difference, I'm gonna go through this, okay, is the remuneration earned by a cooperating brokerage is due and payable within 7 days of completion of the transaction. TREB has always been 10. Okay, TREB has been 10 days. Other boards, and so now it's 7 days. So deals closed within 7 days of the transaction closing, the listing brokerage has to either pay out or inform you what steps they're doing to let you know what's going on with the commission. Okay. Well, because you get this, the deal's closed and we got some of our agents, they'll call Angie, go, well, where's my commission? It's been 3 weeks, right? Well, now, and I actually called and spoke to the actual arbitrators at the board. And I said, look, I got questions on your remuneration, arbitration, and that kind of stuff. And she said, no, this is exactly the rule. So in the event that your deal does not get paid out within 7 days of it closing and you're on the listing side, okay, you must inform us what's going on. Angie's really good and our staff's really good at following up and saying, the deal's closed, how's the check coming, or how are we getting EFT, things like that. Because after the seventh day, the cooperating broker has the right to write to us and go, what's going on with my commission? Okay. The other change, and I'm gonna.
And that's 7 days, not 7 business days. That's 7 days.
Right.
It's a long weekend.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that is a change that is now uniform across all of the PropTX group, okay? The other change is that with TREB, we used to have it that we could pay out proportionately. So if we didn't get the money, the balance of commission within 10 days, we could request to the other broker, or they would request to us, could you pay it out proportionally? So if we had a listing that, was, they were getting 50%, we were getting 50%, and we had deposit, we just split it and said, okay, here's your portion of now, and until we get the rest. That cannot happen. Okay, that does not happen. Because under the new rules, I'm gonna go through this, but instead of reading it, I'm just gonna tell you what it is. Under the new rules, it states that the cooperating broker is entitled to their full commission before any portion is paid to us or any rebate paid to a third party. You understand? So if we have a dispute or we don't have the commission, okay, then they can actually ask to be paid. But we have to show that we're making steps to say, we're not in receipt of the funds. This is why, this is how many times we've talked to the lawyer. This is what we're being told. Within 60 days, okay, within 60 days, we have to either act where we are now suing, taking somebody to court, or we give permission to the cooperating brokerage to take somebody to court. Okay, so there's no more sharing of the deposit, but any portion of the commission, first portion is now cooperating brokers commission because we've offered it through a commission trust agreement. Okay.
2 questions.
Yep.
First, is what about the inclusion in the broker notes that if the listing agent shows the property to a client of the cooperating broker, the co-op will pay the listing agent X amount?
As long as it's stipulated there. Yep.
With Canada Post on strike, are we attempting to get lawyers to EFT? The answer is yes.
And Angie's already
Started that,
yeah, they've already started doing it.
I think they answered that question.
Okay, any questions on that? Because I am gonna go one step further, okay, on this. Let's see where I'm going. And this part's important, 706. All right. I talked about we have to take them to court, blah, blah, blah. Okay. This is one part that you need to understand as a listing agent. If it goes to court, or even if it gets to a point where they've determined that there is not enough funds to pay out the total commission. Okay, not enough funds to pay out the total commission. You as the listing agent now, and it always has been there, but it hasn't been enforced. Because you are provided the information on the MLS listing. I talked about it earlier. The accuracy of the MLS listing is up to you as the listing agent. Now, if there's a shortfall from commission and you can't show that you did your due diligence, and just asking the seller, go, yeah, you got enough money to pay me, is not your due diligence. If it turns out that they owed more on the property when you took the listing, you did not ask the certain questions, during your taking the listing, you're in violation and could be liable for the shortfall. Because it's your job as the listing agent to do your due diligence when you're offering terms of your listing on the MLS system. So the first thing I'm going to highly recommend you all do, pay the $35 or whatever the amount is, and do your title search. And take that title search, show it to the seller and say, this is everything that's showing up on your title. Is this correct? And do you owe any other balances beyond what's showing up here? And have them initial that and say, this is correct. You've done your due diligence. Okay? But if you haven't, and if you can't show that you did your due diligence and or had a question that said, here's my listing questions, boom, 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 and the seller initials and says, yep, nope, nothing on title, yeah, mortgage. And all of a sudden it turns out that they can't pay the commissions and you didn't do your due diligence, you're going to be named in the lawsuit. They may name me, I'm naming you. Simple. Yes.
I asked my client to get that title search before my recent listing.
Okay.
And they had to go through a lawyer and pay $250 plus tax, I guess.
Yeah.
And got the title search and I reviewed it and I saw and everything is fine. And that's how I went through because I wasn't sure. I don't do it all the time.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure on this one. And I did it, but yeah, they had to go through. I don't know if he could do it.
You can do it online. As a realtor, you have access. It's in the Geo Warehouse store where you can buy different ones. And you can actually buy a really detailed, it's like $150, I believe. And you can buy, and it'll actually give you everything that's registered. And it'll give you the actual, when you do the title search, sometimes it'll say this instrument. Well, you can actually then with the higher ones, double click on that instrument and it'll actually give you what that instrument is. Yeah.
Okay.
I once did for a property on Wasaga Beach, it was an inheritance. And being new, I don't always know what certain terms are, like tenant comment and the other one. So when I was asking the client, he wasn't 100% sure either, and he would have had to go to his lawyer, get all this information. So I called a local lawyer and I asked them to do a title search, and it was like $50. Yeah, and I paid for it because I just wanted to make sure that after it was sold, that there wasn't going to be a period of time where they had to do, what's that thing called? Probate, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a change, okay?
So I paid, but it was 15.
Yeah, so this is a change where the onus is now going to be on the listing agent. Okay, so do your titles, spend the money, do your title search. You want to know if you're going to get paid for your own work too, right? The other thing is, if you actually do a seller's payout statement, if you're doing your listing, there is a form, seller's payout statement, and you can basically go, okay, we're going to pay, here's your sale price, here's the fees, here's your lawyer, here's the mortgage. Is there anything else that needs to come off of this? Is there are there credit cards? Are there anything that needs to come off of this that need to be paid out of this? And if you have that and the seller's initialed it and signed off on it, you've done your due diligence. You've protected yourself. Okay. Not that this is going to come up a lot, but it might start coming up more. I talked to an agent the other day and he said he's seen more power sale listings coming up. Okay. Now power sale is different because they've already taken, but there are consumers out there that are sort of, on the bubble of being able to have equity or no equity. So do that due diligence. Okay. That's a big change when it comes to the commission side. Okay. I talked about there's no, okay. All right. 5 more minutes and then I'm done. Unless we have questions. This next one's actually all these pages, but I only need to say 2 sentences. Okay, next, keep going. Virtual office websites. Okay. About anybody who has a website and you are getting a data feed. If you are getting the VOW data feed, it's your responsibility to make sure, and I want you to look at this. This is page 21 of 27. All these pages following this is all about the information that you are in control of with a vow. If you don't know what a vow is, it's a virtual office website. Okay, it's different than the IDX. It's different than just you getting your listings. Lots of website providers. Okay, you as the individual with PropTX, you can request data feed, right? In that data feed, you have choices. You just get your own listings, you get our company listings, you get the IDX listing, or you get the vow. Vow listing is where the consumers, okay, can get all the solds, have to sign in, right? All that has to be regulated. This is big. They are doing, I think we've had 4 vow audits already this year on different websites. Okay, this is a big, big thing they're watching. So if you are and do have a website, okay, make sure that your provider is very, very familiar with the rules and regulations of how having a vow feed and having the IDX feed. Because it is your responsibility as the person who signed up to get permission from the board to have that feed. Majority of the good ones that I know of we have no issues. We've done audits, income websites. They've been, yep, here's our information. Web4 Realty was great. They said, here's the information. Because they go right into how many times has somebody requested to have their listing removed? How many people do you have on there that signed up? How long are they actually on the site for? The reason I'm going through this, I'm going to finish this off. If you do not have a provider that will verify that they can control this information, us as the brokerage will not sign off on you getting a vow feed. I am not going to be responsible for individuals that say they're going to create their own website, are going to manage their own website and want a vow feed. There's huge, huge fines for this not being managed properly because it's consumer information that you're giving people access to, and it's got to be regulated. You have your own website, you manage it yourself. You want to get our broker listings, you want to get our your own broker, your own listings, I'm okay with that. But once you start having the IDX and especially the vow, it's got to be a very bona fide company that can vouch that they can control this information. Okay, because this is what they're looking for. Any questions on that part?
Looks like Scott froze. Yeah. Yeah. Technology. Oh, what's happening now? Oh, you're the host now. That's what it says.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Okay, no, I'm not.
I know. That's just what it popped up to say.
Nobody's saying anything. You become the host.
Okay, all right. I would say that, there's
There
Scott.
he is. He's back.
Yeah. The issue is that the vow is just, it's got way more in-depth information and you need to have some firewalls in there and just.
I don't want to participate in that, then I'm.
Well, as long as your provider, if your provider can guarantee that they can control the information, then yeah, absolutely, you can use it. But the issue is where agents feel they can create their own website or go to somebody and that my friend's gonna build me a website and you can request to get a data feed. right? There's, yes. Okay, so. Right, so majority of them, yeah. Right, okay, so that's the big, that one there, I'm not gonna go into much. If you're gonna have a website provider and you're giving them data feeds, make sure that they can control everything. Okay? That was that's all that's coming December 2nd. We've covered it. You want to review it? Everybody's been given the sheets.
So as the forms may change, you're saying some forms will change.
Yep.
because of the space.
Absolutely.
So well, we have to upload them now.
Again, you got to make sure you use all updated forms, right? So just make sure that you're always updating the forms you're using.
Some are already changed or they're
I-
coming? Oh, you don't.
I don't know. Yeah, they didn't give us any of that. They're just saying it's your responsibility to use the updated forms and. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for your attendance. I know that was a lot to take in. As you work through it, it's gonna be lots, so it's just gonna be minor changes. But they are definitely looking at ways to make sure that they will be enforcing the rules and regulations.
Okay,
All right, thank you, everybody.
thank you, Scott, for a great presentation, I think.
You'll know
As
once you
always,
start
Scott,
working
well
with the
done.
paperwork, it's no big deal. You're all in the know now.
Well, we've been through so many changes in the last 20 years. I mean, what's another one, right, Tina?
Yeah, okay, yeah, okay.
Any questions, reach out to us.
Will do.
All right? Just
Thank
reach
you.
out. I think once you see it, it's all just gonna be up. Okay, I get it.
Okay, just, this is a really strange question, but,
Yes.
our Christmas party is tomorrow, right?
Noon hour. Yep.
Noon hour. See you at noon.
hour.
Oh, looking
See you
forward
at
to
noon.
seeing you.
Yeah,
Nice.
tomorrow at noon at Solstice on Lakeshore in Clarkson. Last year, we did start food a little bit later, so it is starting sit down at 12:30. So get there
Okay.
for noon, a bit of mingling,
Little
a
game.
little game for before we sit down, and then food will start being ordered right away at 12:30 instead of, we were a bit late last year.
Looking forward to seeing everybody tomorrow. That'll be
All
nice.
right, looking forward to it. Keep smiling, everybody.
See everybody
Yeah.
later. Bye.
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 Bye.